and welcome to What If I Fail with me, your host, Alex Coward. I have been having a bit of a day of reflection. I've been looking at how far I've come, and I've been looking at what is coming up for me because I have some very busy months, weeks, days ahead of me. So on the day that this episode is due to be released, I will be 29 days away from moving house. We're going to be moving 270 miles, I think, from Scotland down to Yorkshire. Obviously, that is going to have a huge amount to do. We've got to sort the internet, we have to change all of our addresses absolutely everywhere. Got to set everything up, we're going to have to unpack and put all of our photos up. There's a lot that comes with moving house. And at the same time, I'm looking at, the fact that it's the end of April. We have absolutely sailed past the end of Q1. And in just a few days' time, we'll also be reaching 100 days without Mum. And that feels like a really poignant point to recognise. I'm not sure why, but it feels big, and it feels like a moment in time, a marker to put down. And I'm not really sure why. Not really sure why 100 days feels so significant, but it does. Possibly because I work in quarters. That's how I've always done business. I run the quarterly planning club. Everything that I do is about quarters. It's about creating those pockets of time, those sprints within the bigger marathon in which you can focus and check. And this is where I'm at the moment. We've finished Q1. I'm looking at Q2 and how incredibly busy Q2 is and how much is happening in Q2, and I'm taking stock. I'm in this moment of transition, and it's a moment that I've known was coming for a while. We knew we were going to move house in the summer. We then, we found out in, I think, end of November, beginning of December, that it would be likely June that we moved, and it's felt so far away for such a long time, and now it is rushing up, and it's suddenly surprised me that I'm like, oh gosh, it's actually literally about to happen. And I'm not really where I thought I would be. I'm not where I thought I would be in terms of my health. I thought I would have lost more weight by now. I thought I would have got further with my strength training and my fitness. I thought that I would have come further with the business. And it's not just where I thought I would be before we lost Mum, where I thought I could be when I was looking in December and considering the momentum that I had built in 2025 without anything, sounds odd to say, going wrong. But actually, even where I thought I could be with that, taking into account what has happened. And so I'm sat here taking stock, and don't get me wrong, there is so much for me to be proud of, and I think it's really important that I am. Screw we. I think it's really important that I am proud of myself, and that I list and I keep an eye on all of the things that I have achieved in what have been the worst 3 months. I've kept going, right? I kept going while all this happened. I still showed up. And not just minimally either. I relaunched this podcast. I pushed myself to do it on video, which means that I'm having to be on camera crying. And granted, I've not cried since episode 1, but I'm crying again today. I've pushed myself to do it on video as well as audio. I set up a YouTube channel. I have moved to quote unquote proper podcasting channels. And I have released an episode every single week. I stuck to the plan. I had every date mapped out. I knew when I was going to put each episode out. I followed the structure. I've stuck to that plan. And not just showing up either, because I'm doing it well, I think. I've had over 100 YouTube views and about 260-ish downloads as I speak right now on the podcasting platforms. And that's impressive for a brand new podcast. You know, I'm not well known. I don't have a massive platform. This is something new. So these are, you know, I've checked in the groups. These are good numbers. I've spoken on stage, and, you know, at the speaking gig that I did in March, when I was chatting with some of the other speakers, one of them has also lost her mum. And she said to me that when she lost her mum, she didn't do anything for a year. She couldn't show up. So she was in shock that I was there just 6 weeks after losing mum, speaking on a stage. And I've picked up more speaking opportunities this year as well. You know, I've spoken on panels. I've got another speaking gig coming up in June. I've got another coming up in September. I'm looking for other opportunities to do so. So the momentum that I wanted to build about showcasing who I am and what I stand for, and being more, you know, showing more of my thought leadership, that has gone exactly how I wanted it to. And I'm genuinely really proud of that. And also, I have very cleverly been hiding in plain sight. It's a very sophisticated version of going quiet whilst saying more than I ever have publicly, because I have been showing up, but I've been showing up as more of a thought leader, more of an influencer, an educator, than a business owner, realistically, because I haven't been selling. I haven't been showing anyone at all, really, how or why they should pay me. And that's, you know, I've done the token effort. I have ironically paid lip service myself and said the occasional, oh, by the way, you can work with me. Oh. But I've not actually said, you should work with me and here's why. I've not done any direct outbound sales, which is something that I did and loved doing previously. And I think it's really important to touch on this, because this whole season has ended up being around, you know, showing up. And even just outside of the season of the podcast, this season of life for me is about showing up even when life is lifing, keeping going even when everything else is going on, finding that gap between authenticity and integrity, and hustling and keeping going. And so this is where that gap lies. A thought that I sent to myself, when I go on a walk with the dog, if I have a good idea, if something comes through for me, I tend to email it to myself. And one of the emails that I sent to myself last week was that sanctuary can be found in structure. And this is where my skill set lies, right? This is where my area of expertise really is. And I know that discipline is easiest when it is supported by structure. It removes decision fatigue. It means that you can focus on just following the plan without having to think about it without having to think about each step every single time. And that is masterful, frankly, and it's brilliant, and it solves so many problems for my clients that they aren't often even aware that they have, because the overwhelm that they're feeling is actually this constant decision fatigue and this second guessing. And so helping them let go of that and find that sanctuary within, and the discipline within that structure, helps them to move forward. It helps them to genuinely find that growth, find that momentum. And so when people have asked me how I'm managing to do everything that I've done in the last 3 months, despite everything going on for me, this has been my answer. I took sanctuary in structure. I trusted my own processes to see me through. And as a result of that, I've been incredibly productive. I've got so much done that I wouldn't necessarily have thought possible, and that if I had allowed myself to second guess, if I had allowed myself to overthink, that I potentially wouldn't have done any of this. However, I have managed to misappropriate this, my own work. I have found sanctuary, and I have allowed myself the relief of that sanctuary, but I've also managed to, or it's allowed me to hide from the harder decisions that I do need to make. And I don't think there's a single person out there in the world who would blame me for stepping back on sales with the grief that I have been carrying. There's no one that would say that everything that I have achieved is not enough. But that's because no one else, they're not the ones to suffer, right? I'm the one that suffers. I have to deal with the consequences of the work that I haven't done. And so the only person that misses out from me not doing sales, I mean, you could argue that the clients I could have helped if I had brought them on into my paid work, they've missed out, I guess you could argue, but realistically, I've missed out. I'm the one that's missing out the most because I have allowed the paid work to stagnate. I've allowed the revenue growth to drop. And so it's a time for me that I have to be really honest to myself, and I have to have this reflection, and I have to take this moment to hold myself accountable and to not allow myself to hide behind what I have achieved and not confront what I haven't achieved. But at the same time, obviously, you don't want to just focus on the negative and not focus on the positive. There's been a huge amount of positive, but that doesn't take away from the fact that there are areas in which I have hidden and I have made excuses. And I think there is a difference in keeping going in a way that is meaningful, provides that genuine forward motion, and the keeping going that acts as a well-disguised hiding spot, realistically. Right? It's not laziness, because I've been hugely productive. I've got so much done. And it's not avoidance in the simplest sense, because I have done more in terms of showing up and pushing my comfort zone in the last 3 months than I did for all of 2025 and maybe 2024 even. But what I have done is allow myself to feel very productive whilst avoiding the hardest questions. I have kept going as this means to avoid doing the hard thing. And so for me, the next quarter does need to look different, and I do need to get more uncomfortable. And I do need to do so in a way that honours the absolute carnage my life is about to go through. Right? Moving 270 miles and setting up life again, it's not a small feat. There's going to be a lot of balls to juggle and plates to spin, and there's a huge amount that I need to be careful of with my capacity and my health and not burning out, and also honouring the fact that I am a business owner and I do take my business seriously, and I'm not running a charity or a thought leadership, whatever. I am running a business, and therefore I need to do the sales work. And so this is almost a chance for me to very publicly hold myself to account, to ask the hard question and do the hard reflection and take stock in a way that honours what I've been through and honours what I'm going through and what I'm about to go through, whilst also honouring the momentum that I am building and the business that I am building, frankly. And so, yeah, it's a lot. I'm not really sure what the summation is, other than, the year is going so fast, and it's just going to keep getting faster. As we get older, it's really is true what they say. As you get older, your experience of life gets faster and faster and faster. And so we are speeding our way through 2026. And if I want to get to the end of 2026 and have made serious progress and have really achieved incredible things that I want to achieve, not because anyone else has told me I should want to achieve them, because I myself genuinely want to achieve them. If I want that for myself, then I can't hide from the difficult questions and the difficult conversations, especially those difficult conversations with myself. And so I can't keep telling myself a story that says I'm doing such a good job in showing up and I'm doing such an incredible job at doing this podcast, and I am. And also, I need to be doing the other work as well, and I can't be avoiding it. And so I guess when you're listening to this, I hope that maybe you are asking yourself, what are you avoiding? What questions are you not asking yourself? What questions are you avoiding having a coach ask you? What questions or what work are you hiding behind or hiding from? I think it's a great time of year. You know, the spring is starting, the leaves are coming out, the sun is shining a bit more, the world is waking up. So maybe this is a great time for us to wake up too and ask ourselves, what do we need to spring clean out of our business, and what can we push forward and build into coming into this summer, and make sure that we are holding ourselves to account and we are doing the hard work and we are getting the results that we deserve from the work that we are doing. This podcast is a window into the conversations I have every week with the leaders I work with. If you want to be inside that conversation, not just observing it, you will find the Actual Results Club and my one-to-one work linked below.